Good afternoon, and welcome to the third presentation on becoming a genealogist and family historian. My name is Susan Court. In the first week, I reviewed some basic concepts, including motivation and objectives of a budding genealogist, and I discussed the language of genealogy and how to understand cousin relationships and what constitutes a genealogical record. Last week, I explored the initial and ultimate challenges a genealogist faces, record keeping with paper forms, types of records for in-person and online research, and locations of such records for in-person research. Today, I'm going to take you online. But first, I need to mention that the views stated here are mine and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Kentucky Genealogical Society. And likewise, neither the Society nor I endorse any service, product, or publication noted or otherwise discussed in this presentation. So, as I mentioned, I'm going to go online with you today. I've divided the material into two parts. First, I'm going to discuss the many genealogical websites, both fee-based and free, that are available. It's not going to be an exhaustive list. It probably won't even be a comprehensive list, but it will be a pretty good list of these types of websites. I will also demonstrate how to use two of the most popular websites. Ancestry.com, which is a fee-based website, and FamilySearch.org, which is a free website. So let me start with the genealogical websites for general research. That means research into all kinds of records, not just a particular topic or subject matter. And in that regard, there are four, which are called the Big Four: Ancestry.com, FindMyPast.com, MyHeritage.com, and FamilySearch.org. Now, each one of these websites has billions of records which you can access from your own computer. The three fee-based sites allow you to build and maintain your trees, your own tree or more trees. You don't have to have just one tree on their sites. FamilySearch does not allow you to create your own tree because it hosts a single online tree, referred to as a collaborative family tree. Two of the fee-based sites, Ancestry and MyHeritage, own other genealogy-related companies, and they have their own DNA sites. Now I'm going to talk a little bit more about the Big Four. Ancestry.com. It's privately held. It's based in Provo, Utah. A lot of people think that Ancestry is associated or even affiliated with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's not, although it was founded by two graduates of Brigham Young University. It is the largest for-profit genealogy company in the world, with more than 30 billion records from 80 countries, plus 100 million hosted family trees and over 23 million subscribers. Ancestry owns newspapers.com, Fold3, Find a Grave, Archives.com, GeoNet, and Ancestry DNA. These are all fee-based with the exception of Find a Grave and to a certain extent GeoNet. Find My Past is UK-based, headquartered in London. It also, of course, has billions of searchable records. It is best for British research, but is also good for US and Commonwealth country research. In fact, when my husband was looking or was in the process of applying for his Irish citizenship, I was able to find his grandparents' wedding certificate in New York City on Find My Past. We had searched high and low. We had been to New York. We knew they got married in New York. We knew they were from County Roscommon and County Sligo in Ireland. Could not find it until finally I did locate it on Find My Past. MyHeritage.com is headquartered in Israel. It has close to 20 billion historical records. As of 2023, it supports 42 languages. I get emails from them periodically about new collections that have been added. They've added 135 million records in May and August of this year alone. MyHeritage owns Jenny and MyHeritage DNA sites. They've also recently introduced two photo-related tools, Reimagine and PhotoDater. and I'm going to show you both of those at the very end of this presentation. There are also genealogical websites for general research that are free. This is the main one, of course, FamilySearch.org. It is owned and operated by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, headquartered in Salt Lake City. It hosts more than 16 billion historical records and images. It is associated with the FamilySearch Library, which, as I mentioned last week, is the world's largest genealogical collection, and it's associated with the FamilySearch centers. And as you may recall, there are 24 of those centers in Kentucky. Its collaborative family tree covers nearly 1.5 billion individuals. This slide just gives you, it's sort of representative, or it's really for illustrative purposes. I just wanted to mention what these fee-based sites charge. First of all, they all have graduated fee structures, depending on what services a client wants. Their fees also auto-renew at the end of the subscription period, so you have to kind of be on the lookout for that, but all of them do give you a heads up. Ancestry has a 2-week free trial period, and then it has different levels of membership depending on the scope of your desired research. Their fees run from about $25 a month to $600 a year for an all-access account. Find My Pass starts at about 11 pounds a month, goes up to 200 pounds a year. My Heritage allows you to create a tree up to 250 people for free. After that, it has different fees for tree building and access to data. Its fees start at about $129 a year, and they go up to $299 per year. Again, this is just for illustrative purposes. If you're in the market for one of these fee-based websites, please do your homework. Please do please shop around and compare them, because truly these rates could be changing even as I speak. I frequently get asked this question: what happens if I cancel my subscription or it expires? Well, generally speaking, you're not going to lose your data. You may not have access to the records. You may have some limitations on building or adding to your tree. The main point here is this: you do not lose your data unless you intentionally delete your tree. There are also genealogical websites for general research besides the big four. Fee-based ones I've listed here on the left: Archives, owned by Ancestry; Jenny, owned by My Heritage; and then there's also the American Ancestors, which is the New England Historic Genealogical Society's website. On the right are popular free genealogical websites for general research. I mentioned two last week: the National Archives and the Library of Congress, both in Washington, D.C. Of course, they're excellent for in-person research. They're phenomenal repositories, but they both have collections that are digitized and available online. There are also genealogical websites that are dedicated to specific topics or subject matters. I've listed three of the more popular ones here: newspapers, cemeteries, and military. For newspaper records, the three that I've listed first are fee-based. Probably the most popular among the fee-based is newspapers.com because of its association with Ancestry. It has more than 800 million newspaper pages from 25,000 newspaper titles. It includes, just by the way, 72 Kentucky newspapers, which are keyword accessible. Probably the most outstanding free newspaper website is Chronicling America, also known as Chron-Am. This is a website that has been developed by the Library of Congress and is maintained by the Library of Congress. Well, first of all, Library of Congress has a phenomenal newspaper collection in microfilm, print, and digital format that spans 1690 to the present. Most of their newspapers are on microfilm, but they do have a digital collection, and that's Cron-Am. And so it, again, it hasn't obviously digitized all of its records. It hasn't even digitized all of the Kentucky newspapers that it has in its collection. It has identified over 2,100 Kentucky newspapers from 1770 to the present, but only 80 of those have been digitized and are keyword searchable on Cron-Am. Now, the organization that has contributed the part for Kentucky has been the University of Kentucky. And so you do want to check out the UK's website, that's KentuckyNewspapers.org. It is fabulous, digitized, keyword searchable. Now, when you're researching newspapers, you're going to want to look for obituaries, birth, marriage, anniversary announcements, social columns, profiles, and feature stories, classifieds and advertisements, court listings, news articles. I have filled many holes in my tree with information I've gotten from obituaries. I've gotten wonderful photographs from the social columns in newspapers from the 20s and the 30s. Probably the best thing I found, though, in a newspaper was this, an article, a news article, about the circumstances of my grandfather's death. My family had his death certificate, but we didn't really have the circumstances under which he died. And so I found this article, I found an article in the Kentucky Post in August, or from August 1901. And I'm just going to read you the headline in the first column. He died suddenly. Adolph Court's demise due to heart failure. Death came without a moment's warning. Adolph Court, 38, a switchman at the Louisville and Nashville Railroad and well known in Covington, suddenly dropped dead at 3:30 o'clock Wednesday afternoon in Newman's Saloon at 13th Street and Madison Avenue, Covington. Court entered the place and paid a bill. Then he sat down at a table, turned to order a glass of beer, gave a gasp, and expired. The greatest excitement prevailed in the place when it was found he was dead. And the article goes on with more information. But as I said, we knew when he died, we had his death certificate, but we really didn't know the circumstances until I found that article. So that story probably is a segue into the next topic, which is cemeteries. I've listed 3 of the very popular sites for researching cemetery records. I've used Find a Grave quite a bit. It's owned by Ancestry, but it is free. The thing about Find a Grave and Billion Graves, which I'm also familiar with, is that it's the gift that keeps on giving. So let's say you're researching John Jones and you find a Find a Grave hit, and so you go there and there's information on him. You know, it will have very likely have his birth date, maybe place of birth, of course, his death date, place of death, not always, but often this is the information. But then it also, if his parents and his spouse and his children were buried in the same cemetery, which is very likely, then it will have links to their information. And then if you go to his children, then if their children are buried there, then you're going to have information on his grandchildren. So as I said, it's the gift that keeps on giving. And here's a little piece of information. With over 43,000 unique cemeteries, Kentucky has more cemeteries than any other state or commonwealth. And that fact came from a presentation that the KYGS president, Chris Paget, gave last year. Military, Fold 3, most prominent, owned by Ancestry, is fee-based. But if you have an ancestor or a collateral relative who was a veteran and possibly buried in a national cemetery, you should check out the gravelocator.cem.va.gov. Now remember, all these websites, all this information will be in the manual available in October. I'm just calling it the October package. There are genealogical websites that are focused on peoples or nationalities or ethnic groups. This list is truly just illustrative. It's not even comprehensive. It's definitely, as I said, not exhaustive. So there are websites dedicated to researching Native Americans, American slavery, African Americans, Jewish, Irish, Canadian, British, French, Italian, Polish, Dutch, German Protestant, European, German, Mexican. Again, remember what I mentioned last week about navigational guides? And there are let me try that again, navigational guides that are dedicated to certain countries. You can just do a Google search. You might be able to find them on Amazon or Family Tree magazine. But remember FamilySearch Research Wiki. It's free, and it is excellent for finding records, the location of records for countries, nationalities, certain communities. So do check out FamilySearch Research Wiki if your ancestors' country is not on this list, and very possibly it's not. So you definitely want to check out FamilySearch Research Wiki. The Family Tree magazine also named the best state digital websites, or that was a little bit redundant, the best state websites for 2023. And I've listed the ones that surround Kentucky here, and of course Kentucky. Now they named Kentucky Digital Library as the best state website for Kentucky. This is not the same as the Kentucky State Digital Archives, the KSDA, associated with the Kentucky Department of Libraries and Archives. Remember, I mentioned last week, the KSDA is probably not that much used for genealogists because their records are all born digital records, and genealogists are usually looking for records that predate the born digital age. Now, I have to admit, I had never checked out this digital library until I put together this slide. So I thought, well, I better check it out, which I did. And it's fabulous. There's no question about it. It has some wonderful, wonderful collections on it. It's very well put together. But I think it may be a little bit more interest to a historian than a genealogist, but it's free. And I strongly recommend that you take a look at it because it's fun to kind of just dig into. Okay, let me get to this one. All right. There are also general websites with genealogical potential, the social media websites and general search engines. I've listed under the second category, Google. I found something really important for my research into the Vollmer family on Google, just a Google search. The nephew of my great-grandfather, Bernard Vollmer, emigrated from Rottenburg am Neckar in the Kingdom of Württemberg to Savannah, Georgia. And when he died in Savannah, he left a will. And I had found that out. I had that much information. Well, I wanted to get a copy of the will. I wanted to know more about the will because he named my great-grandfather and my great-grandfather's siblings in this will. And I wrote the Chancery Court in Savannah twice, $10 each time, looking for a record, for them to search for a record, and they found nothing. But a Google search produced a Georgia Supreme Court opinion about that will because it had been contested by the caretaker of this nephew and his wife during one of those scarlet fever outbreaks in Savannah. And so it gave me a lot of information about this nephew, about the will. It was a great find. It was just a Google search. And then you should also know that many genealogical societies at all levels, international all the way down to the local level, have pages dedicated to their organization, and they're also family Facebook pages, for example. I met my, I want you to meet, actually, I've already met him. I want you to meet my cousin, Jerry Schlosser, whom I found on Facebook. He lives in Litchfield. When I was doing the research on the Schlosser family, I had gotten down to his branch, and I had his name, and I thought that I knew where he was, lived, but I didn't have his contact information. I didn't have his email, I didn't have his phone number. So I just took a chance and I went on Facebook, and what I found was his Facebook page, and it didn't have a contact information on it, but it did have a picture of his realty company with the phone number. And so I called him. Sure enough, he is my cousin, and I got all kinds of information from him about his branch of the family. And if you really need to find more websites, you can even buy this book, but I think you should try FamilySearch Research Wiki before you do that. Yeah, okay. Okay, now I am going to demonstrate how to research and record online without software. Next week, I'm going to talk about doing that with software linked to an online database. So the first demonstration will be researching and recording information using Ancestry.com. And my subject will be my father, Arthur Aloysius Court. He's pictured here, aged 5, and he's a cutie patootie. Before you start researching on Ancestry, there are a few things you must do. Let me take a little drink. Okay. You must subscribe to Ancestry and create a tree on the website. You need to establish your privacy settings. Do you want your tree to be private or public? And if private, how private? Later, you may also want to invite people to have special access to your tree. So I want to talk about these preliminary matters now. So first, you're going to create a tree on Ancestry. It's very simple to do. Before I show that to you, though, I just want to mention the little shaky leaf. So you may have seen this on commercials on television. The shaky leaf, as it's called, is Ancestry's indication that it has found records related to or associated with somebody whom you are researching. So we all love to see the shaky leaf. Okay, let's get to creating this tree. So you go up to the horizontal toolbar that follows the Ancestry logo, and you hit trees. That will bring you to upper left screen, and you'll have the option there to create and manage trees. All right, just click on that. That brings you to the upper right corner screen, which is create a new tree, or it will be definitely your new tree, your first tree. That will bring you down to the left-hand corner, start a new tree, over to the right, and you add that information. Now, before you start researching, you may want to add more than just your name and your parents' name and information. If you have information about other ancestors, you may want to include that too before you really start getting into researching, in part because if you find a record, you're going to want to attach it to somebody, and that somebody has to be in your tree. That's not a problem, though. If you find a record where you don't have somebody in the tree yet, you just go back, you put the person in the tree, and you attach the record. But you might want to start out with putting a few more people in your tree than yourself and your parents. All right. After you've created your tree, you're going to then create your privacy settings. There are 3 Ancestry settings: public, private, and unindexed. Public, all content viewable except info on living people, but their existence will be shown by these silhouettes, the little pink and blue. Private, all content not viewable except limited information on deceased individuals will appear in a search. So that's name, birth, year, birthplace, documents. Anyone wanting to access photographs that are part of a private tree must contact the owner. Then there's a completely hidden tree. It used to be called unindexed, so I'm just going to continue using that description. On the right here is how to do that, and this will all be in the October package, how to create your privacy settings, but it's very simple, and I'm going to show it to you right now. So you go to the horizontal toolbar after the word ancestry, and you're going to hit trees, and that will give you a vertical toolbar, and in the middle of the vertical toolbar are 3 little dots. You hit those 3 little dots, and then it will give you a drop-down list including tree settings. You click on that. That takes you over to the screen on the right, number 2 here, and you hit privacy settings, click on that, and then you go down this list, and it gives you 3 options: public tree, private tree, or the last one, which I'm calling unindexed. Also prevent your tree from being found in searches. So public tree, I described earlier, as well as the private tree. If you hit that last little box, it means that the existence of your tree is not even public. At some point, you may want to grant access to your ancestry tree or trees. And this is a list of the instructions on how to do that. And you will eventually invite someone, if you're interested, to be either a guest, a contributor, or an editor. So I'm going to show, it's really simple. Again, these instructions will be in your October package, but I'm going to show you how easy it is to do this. So again, we go up to the horizontal toolbar, we hit trees, we get the vertical toolbar, we hit the 3 little dots, and then we just say invite, go over to screen 2 here, and you're going to assign somebody a role, and then you will send an email to that person. It's all set up. You'll send an email to that person, and they either accept or reject your invitation. It's not automatic. The invitee has to accept your invitation. So when that happens, let me show you. So if somebody accepts your invitation, it will be one of these 3: a guest. So the guest can view your tree and leave comments. A contributor, view the tree, leave comments, add stories and photos. Or an editor, view the tree, leave comments, add stories and photos, and edit and add people. So if you really trust somebody, and I mean really trust somebody, you can assign the role of editor. Now we're ready to start the research into your heritage on ancestry.com. So we go back to the original screen, and you put your tree in there. I've circled it there, sort of in the middle, upper middle. Make sure you have the tree that you're researching, and then you put in 3 pieces of information: name, date, and place. And it's like a 3-legged stool. You have to have those 3 things to do a valid research or a valid search, because if you don't, it's like a 2-legged stool and it's going to fall down. So I entered the information on our subject matter here, my father. So that's on number 2 here. Arthur Court, born 1901, and where? Covington, Kentucky. Almost everybody in my family was born in Covington, Kentucky. So that brings up a list. Supposedly there are over 87,000 records that fit these parameters. But the wonderful thing about Ancestry and the other fee-based and also FamilySearch.org is that they have all these little magic people behind the curtain with the Wizard of Oz, basically algorithms that are going to prioritize the records within the parameters which you have given them. So that's what's happened here. And the first record that shows up is my father's World War II draft card. And I look at the information on the right. Yes, this is my father because that's my mother's name, and it's got the right date of birth and the right birthplace. So I'm going to hit on that record or that link, U.S. World War II draft card, young men. So that takes me to screen 4. I click on, and you'll see that's going to give me 2 things. It's going to give me an image and a record. I click on it. And what I get then is the screen on the left, this is called the record according to Ancestry. It really is an extrapolation of the data in the original record, okay? And then on the right, number 6 here is an image, which is a picture of the original record. So when Ancestry says record, it's sort of the extrapolation of the information. I can save both, which I'm going to do by hitting save at the in the upper right-hand corner. That's number 6 here. But over down at the bottom are other records that the little magic people behind the curtain have found, and I'm going to come back to them later for this research. So once I do that, I'll get the screen at number 7 here. And so it's got the right tree in there, and I put my father's name in as I have entered it in my family tree. So if I was feeling like E.E. Cummings and wanted to do everything lowercase, that's not going to work. I've got to enter the name just as I entered it in the family tree. It's very case sensitive. So I do that, I hit save, and then I get the screen at number 8 here. This is a bifurcated screen. On the right is the information in my tree. On the left is information that has been extracted from the record that I've just pulled up, which is the World War II draft card for my father. So what I want to do, or what I have to do, is go down and compare these two records side by side. If there's something in the new record which is different and better than what I have in my tree, I'm going to click that particular information. But if I click something on the left that is different from what's on the right, but not as good and actually contradicts or is inconsistent with what's on the right, then what will happen is it will overwrite what is in my tree. So you have to be very careful not to click a piece of a datum, basically, that is not better than what you already have in your tree. Now, because of that, because you need to go down and compare the two records side by side, your tree and the information from this record under review, my recommendation is wait till you get to the very bottom to save to your tree. Because if you save to your tree up at the top, because I've got the two options, then you will you will possibly have missed some better information from the record that you really want to put into your tree. So then it shows up here, as you can see. The draft card is now in my father's profile on Ancestry.com. And if I click on it, I get what they call the record. But notice up there at the left-hand corner of number 10 is citation details. And when I click on that, there's the citation. Remember what I told you last week? You've got to keep track of where you found information. And if there's a citation associated with the information, you need to keep a record of that as well. And see here, Ancestry does it all for you. Postscript, you will receive hints now and then from Ancestry. Again, the little magic people behind the curtain have found something for you, and they'll say, do you want to view this hint? I recognize the name of this lady, Helen Albertine Gerlach Schlosser. I say yes, then that takes me to the screen on the right. And on the top of this screen, when you get one of these hints, will be the information that's in your tree. So I look at that. I look at the information that has been taken or extracted from the record. Here it's the 1950 census, and to see whether or not they are consistent. They are, and so to the question, does Helen G. Smain in this record match the person in your tree? I say yes, and that gives me this bifurcated screen, information from the record on the left, information from my tree on the right. I compare the two of them. I pick and choose what I want from the record that is better than what I have in my tree. So just get in the habit of doing that and not using that save to your tree on the upper right. Okay, that produces the page here for Helen. And you say, well, why is there a sad face on this record? Well, it's because the only record in there now is this 1950 US federal census that I just saved. But when I was researching Helen and the members of our respective family, I found lots of records. And what I did at that time, it was just years ago, I would take the information and then I would record it in my own database, which is I use software, and I would keep it. That's how I kept the record, but I didn't save the record. And I regret that now. So again, do what I say, not what I did. Now I'm going to demonstrate how to use FamilySearch.org. Remember, this is a free website. It's associated with the Family Search Library in Salt Lake City. Before starting your research, you must create an account. It is free. So you just go to their website, up there, right-hand corner, create account. Easy peasy. You're going to use it's your email, and then you're going to have to create a password. Once that's done, we'll go back to this home page, and that's the home page for Family Search. You'll note I circled the AWS2. That is, for lack of a better word, the moniker that Family Search has given to me. It's not my initials, or not even close, but if I do anything on the tree, if I add anything to the tree, change anything on the tree, it will come up as AWS2. Okay, so here's the home page. Now we are ready to start researching on FamilySearch.org. To that end, we go up to the horizontal toolbar after the word Family Search, and you'll see search, and we're going to hit on search, and that will give us a drop-down list: records, images, family tree, genealogies, catalog, books, research wiki. Okay, for research purposes, I really only focus on records, images, and catalog, okay, and not family trees or genealogy. Okay, so that's what I'm going to focus on right now. First, records. It works just like Ancestry.com, three-legged stool. You put in the basic information: name, place, birth year. And that, by putting that in and hitting enter, that then gives me a drop-down list of results for my father. And at the very first one I look at, and it does look like it would be his profile page, because all the information on the right is consistent with what I know about my father. So I click on that, and this is what I get. Okay, it's great. I mean, it's truly great. There's a lot of information. There are records here, but I didn't add any of this. Most of this was added by somebody the name of Janice Byington. I don't know who she is. I've never heard of her. I'm very grateful. I mean, everything that I have looked at on this page, I had to cut the page in half, so it goes all the way down. So when I say page, it's just one page, but I had to cut and paste it in order to show it to you on a slide. It looks very good. And the cool thing is that there are actual records attached to this profile page for my father. Remember, Family Search Family Tree is a one world tree, a unified database that aims to contain one entry for each person recorded in genealogical records. All Family Search users may add persons, link them to existing persons, or merge duplicates. Sources, images, and audio files can also be attached to persons in the tree. In other words, users do not build their own or a unique tree on FamilySearch.org as they can do on Ancestry.com, My Heritage, or Find My Past. So, this is a typical profile page for a person. In this instance, for my father. And now I have used these, not this page necessarily, but I've used pages like this to find records. You know, I just keep going back and back and back to see if I can get records that are relevant to me. and I have found some pretty cool records that way. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the image function. Truth in advertising, I got to tell you, this is the first time I've really used the image function, but I have an ulterior motive. Located at this place at the FamilySearch.org site is a fantastic collection, Kentucky collection, the Jefferson County Estate Inventory books. These books were digitized recently by FamilySearch.org through a collaboration between FamilySearch, Kentucky Genealogical Society, and several other organizations. So it was a real team effort to get these records digitized. These records contain the names of many enslaved people from the period that it covers. It's 1800 to 1910, so obviously 1800 to about 1865. So I'm going to go through the steps, and I've got to tell you that these steps were given to me by my colleague and contacted at FamilySearch.org, with whom I'm working on the collaboration. We have this collaboration going on to try to get as many Kentucky records digitized as possible. But in any event, so this is how he instructed me. So first I put Jefferson County in, I hit search. That gives me screen 2. So for Jefferson County, in this particular collection, there are almost 4,000 records. That's not pages, that's records, or compilations of records. So I hit show advanced search. That allows me to put in property settlement records. Then I'm still with almost 4,000 records. I hit update. This is number 4, and with the property settlement records. I hit update. That takes me to number 5. So I hit that. And once I do that, I now have narrowed it down to the Jefferson County Estate Inventory books. So when those books were digitized, it turns into 865 folders. Now, let me tell you a little bit more about those records. Those records were on 50,000 pages to those records. They had been previously preserved on microfiche, and the microfiche filled a box the size of a shoebox. So 50,000 pages, it's really hard to get your head around this one. 50,000 pages had been preserved on microfiche. So I just want to look at an example of what's in this particular collection. So I hit on the very first number there, on number 5. You see where I clicked on it, and that brings up the screen at number 6, which is 61 pages that are in that particular folder or file or collection. So 61 pages. So I just click on one of them, and that's what the page looks like. The settlement of the estate of Captain James Taylor. And this was before he became a folk singer. No, I'm kidding. This is Captain James Taylor, not the same one. All right. So, so I'm thinking, oh, wow, remember what it said at the very beginning on images? It said, browse records that haven't been made searchable through indexing. So I'm thinking, oh, wow, this is going to be really hard, right, to research. But I recall, because I was part of that team that brought this digitization to fruition, that these records, the estate books, had actually been digitized, indexed. They had been indexed previously before they were preserved on the microfiche. So I thought, well, wait a minute, maybe FamilySearch didn't index them, but maybe somebody who preserved them on the microfiche had indexed them before the preservation. So I went back, and I went back to this screen where I have property settlement records. There are 861. Now I know I'm in the ballpark here. And I put index as a keyword. I hit update, and sure enough, that's exactly what I found. I found the index of these records that had been divided up for digitization purposes into 12 folders or 12 files, 12 collections. So I just want to look at one. I clicked on it, and here it is, General Index to Inventories and Settlements, and it is in chronological order, I'm sorry, in alphabetical order. So this should make it much, much easier to research this fabulous collection. Okay, now I want to turn to using the catalog function. I love this. This is the function on FamilySearch that I use the most, and I've had great success with it. So I go in, see the page. So again, you're going to hit search. It's going to give you these options. I hit catalog, and I put in US, Kentucky, Kenton. I know, I always have to go home, Kenton County. So that brings up the page at number 2. And I'm looking for records that are associated with the creator of the records. I don't want the author of the record I'm going to search or research in to be somebody's name, because that's going to be a secondary source. I want to go to a primary source. So I look down, I see order books of the court held in Covington, Kentucky. The author is the circuit court. Okay, that's the creator. That's going to be a primary record. Okay, so I click on that, and I get this list of order books. Now you'll notice that it has been organized alphabetically. So that's a form of indexing. That's pretty good. The little camera up there, though, shows me that it's digitized. Oh, that's good, but it's not keyword searchable. But it is digitized, and it is alphabetized. So I go down, and I pick the volume R to S, July 1869 to March 1871. My great-grandfather, Joe Schlosser, was a very prominent businessman in Kenton County during that period. I thought, well, maybe he was involved in a court case. So I click on that. I get this screen, which is just an overview of the digitized pages, but they are in alphabetical order. So I scroll through. You can scroll through until I found the Schlosser, and sure enough, there's a court case involving my great-grandfather, Joe Schlosser, and it lists the page 198 for the first time that this case appears. And so I find page 198 of the order book, but it's image number 476. So you're going to have to kind of get used to correlating images and page numbers when you get one of these digitized collections. It involves math, not my strong point, but if I can figure it out, you can figure it out. Okay, so I'm going to try look for another record. This time I'm going to pick marriage records, 1840 to 1935. The author is Kenton County clerk of the county court, and we know how important how important court clerks. I'm going to try that again. We all know how important county clerks are to genealogy, because county clerks in Kentucky are the main custodian of the most important records that we are looking for. The primary records: birth, death, marriage, probate, deeds, land, tax, voter, wills. So the county clerks are the main game in town. The circuit clerks are responsible for the divorce records. Okay, but the vital records, the really important vital records, are in the clerk's offices. So I hit on marriage records because I know I'm going to be looking at I've got a primary source here. Now I not only have a camera, which indicates that the records are digitized, but I also have a little magnifying glass, and that means they're keyword searchable. So I do my happy dance. I am really happy now. And so I'm going to pick a period in which I know that a family member was married. So I do that. And so I get this screen at number 3 here, and I'm going to put in my great-grand uncle Charles Summer. And Covington, Kentucky. He was married. I knew he was married in Covington, Kentucky, and I had an idea here, the range of the years in which he was married. Now, as it turns out, in my family, everybody's practically in the 19th century was married in Covington. They were born in Covington. Covington is where it happened for my family. So anyway, I hit search, and it produces the screen at number 4, Charles Summer, marriage, August 25th, 1880, spouse, Anna Schlosser, spelled S-L-O-S-S-E-R, not my S-C-H-L-O-S-S-E-R. I hit search, and voila, there is the happy couple. No, that's really not my Uncle Charlie. But I do have his and Anna's certificate of marriage, and that's the photograph of the original record. Now, postscript on email hints from FamilySearch. So just like with Ancestry, you're periodically going to get hints from FamilySearch.org. Here's one for Joseph John Summer, and this is Charles Summer's brother, Joe, my great-grand-uncle Joe Summer. That's a picture of him with his colleagues. I've had to cut them out. He was on the first Cincinnati Reds baseball team, and this photograph is in the full photographs with all of his teammates is in the Cooperstown Baseball Museum. So I'm very excited. So I've got a record here for Joe Summer. I click on Joe, and I find what the hint refers to is a death record from Ohio. And I do know that Joe Summer died in Cincinnati. Check out the record, and it looks correct. Let me go back here. Because it's got this looks like the correct profile page, or the one that relates to me. This Joe Summer, it has his parents' names correctly. The information is correct for his parents. His wife's name, though, is incorrect because it has her married name, so that's not correct. So I want to attach the record that they've sent me to Joe Summer's profile page on FamilySearch.org, and I want to correct his wife's name while I'm there. So that's what I do. And so I attach the record, I change her name, and now on number 4 here is what it looks like on FamilySearch. So there's Joe, his wife's name is correct, and you'll note that AWS2 got credit for that. So attaching a source and adding a relationship. So remember, AWS2 is me. Now, so what are the main differences between Ancestry and FamilySearch? Just to review, Ancestry paid subscription service allows you to create a private or personal tree and make it public or keep it private. It also lets you give other people the right to view a private tree or edit a private or public tree. FamilySearch is free, does not allow you to create a private or personal tree. There is only one tree with branches. FamilySearch's tree is built on an open edit platform, hence any registered user or patron can edit, that is, add, delete, or change any deceased person or individual in Family Tree or FamilySearch. I was going to show you one thing that about my heritage, but there is a slide too that I must have slipped over, and I'm going to go back very quickly. I'll show you this slide, then I'm going to go to conclude this particular presentation. My heritage has some really cool photo tools. One is a colorization, and this is a colorized photograph of my Aunt Abby and my brother Bill, who was born in 1924. The thing I wanted to show you is they now have a brand new, like in the last month, new tool where they estimate the year a photograph was taken. And so the estimate here is 1925, spot on for my brother who was born in 1924. And these are a couple others. Again, these are correct. Now, you're going to have to excuse me. I need to tell you one thing, and I don't recall telling you this, and I think I accidentally slipped over it. Let me go back because this is important for you. You're very patient, and I appreciate it very much. Oh, this is what I wanted to remind you. This is a tip regarding subscription fees. Before subscribing to a fee-based research database, check out your local library. Many subscribe to fee-based research databases. I mentioned this last week when I was talking about how wonderful Kentucky's libraries are. So you can go to the library, and most of the libraries are going to allow you to access like Ancestry because they have a library account. But in particular, look for Heritage Quest Online, which can be accessed from a library or remotely through the library portal. And Heritage Quest is a large genealogy database developed by ProQuest. That's, look, I think it's headquartered in Michigan, and powered by Ancestry.com. So the layout and search tools look pretty much the same. The point here is that it's completely free, and you can it can be accessed with a library card at home. So not all libraries necessarily have Heritage Quest Online, but if they do, it may be a way of researching on the fee-based databases through their resources. So let me go all the way down, and so be patient with me, and I really appreciate your patience. And I'm now going to go really, really fast. Okay, final matters. The recorded video of this session will be available tomorrow, Saturday, on the Society's channel on YouTube. The first 2 sessions are already there. Eventually, all 5 videos will be available on kygs.org, as will a PDF copy of the manual and other materials, also known as the October package. And at the close of the 5-week webinar, we will email registrants a PDF copy of the October package. So 3 little matters, pretty important ones. And let me go. All right, in the meantime, if you have questions or comments, feel free to contact me at susancourt@kygs.org. Thank you, and I hope to see you next week, and have a great weekend.